Hello, welcome to Staring Down the Storm, Autism Advocacy in America. I'm your host, Tabitha Ziegler. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the podcast. You doing okay over there, Mike?
I am doing all right. Just got done with work, so it's been a long day, but we're ready to kick some ass. Talk some shit.
Always kicking ass over here. Well, let's just get into it then. So I'll let you introduce yourself and give us a little bit of your origin story.
Yeah, my name is Mike Stringham. On Instagram and all social medias, I'm Cefore Explosives. I'm from Chicago, and now I live in Florida, which is a culture shock. But I've been making music, and as of last year, I started making protest music. Shortly after that, I linked up with Carlos Gomez on Coconut Justice Podcast, who you know quite well, and he's been an amazing motivator, I would say. And then shortly after that, I jumped on with Bernard Taylor and his campaign, and I've been campaigning with him for almost a year now. So here I am.
And here you are. Well, that's actually how we met, because I was running for Congress and now my race is over and I met Carlos, and through Carlos and a handful of other people, I met you.
Yeah. Small. We're trying to make the world a little smaller so we can be more concentrated on our movement,
Exactly. So let's talk a little bit more about you. So you're a vet. Can you walk us through what branch of the military you were in and all of that?
Actually, I'm not a vet.
Oh, you're not? I thought you were.
No, I'm not. No, Carlos was a vet. I'm just a proud, got a lot of family members who have served and still have people that are just got enlisted and all kinds of stuff. So I've seen the stages, that's for sure. But I haven't been enlisted though.
Okay. Well, I must have been thinking that you were because of Carlos, but since both of us have family members that were either in the military, still in, let's talk a little bit about NDAA 219, which is now passed the House and on to the Senate with Section 1217. So give me your thoughts on that.
Well, I think it's just completely compromising the integrity of our entire nation. I don't believe we have any reason to have ties with Israel whatsoever. They're using us. They're playing us, and they have so much over on the administration right now. And I'm waiting for the PP tapes to come out, because as soon as they do, maybe we can shed some light on some of this chaos, because it just doesn't make any sense whatsoever. Though we just go ahead and spend billions and billions to bomb countries that kill children. I don't understand.
Well, and you've got a little interesting predicament down there in Florida with the person that Bernard Taylor's running against, don't you?
I do. Mr. IDF wearing uniform himself, Brian Mast. Yes.
Let's talk about that a little bit.
It's really frustrating when I talk to people campaigning for Bernard Taylor. I guess it's a good thing, because we realize that this guy isn't doing anything for anybody in our county, in our district. He's over in Washington. He's sending money over there. He's wearing the uniform, the home team's uniform, right? So it's extremely frustrating when he's trying to gain his momentum with his followers and saying, "Hey, it's all about the water. It's all about the infrastructure, and it's all about this here in the community." And I'm posing for pictures, and we all know you are not here in the community. Your office is right down the road. You are refusing to hold town hall meetings, and it's a joke.
Right. Well, you guys also have a problem with data centers down there, don't you?
Yeah, and so one just got shot down, and then they decided that we're gonna have a data center right next to it. Let's see how that goes. And then there's a town in it called Indiantown, which is pretty much all Black and brown community, and there's those select people that are in power that are not Black or brown and have a lot of money. So they are trying to pull the wool over on their eyes and put one in, which they agreed upon. Now they're looking for a water source, and if we don't activate enough people to get out and vote by the primary, and then in November, it looks like there's one going to be put up.
Mhm. Mhm. Well, and you also have some, natural wildlife preserves down there that's gonna be affecting, don't you?
Yeah, there's wildlife. There's the Everglades. There's with all the construction going on and just it's. I've moved down here 12 years ago, and it's a completely different town than when I moved in. It looks like a
Mhm.
mini
Mhm.
Miami or Lauderdale or Palm
Right.
Beach. And in all honesty, it's pretty
Mhm.
sickening
Mhm.
knowing that what it's going to turn into. Overdevelopment, lack of
Mhm.
infrastructure, all the wildlife that was in that habitat is now in our backyards. So we have to worry about that. It's
Mhm.
pretty bad.
Mhm. Yeah. Well, you mentioned brown people, so let's dive into that. Don't you think it's interesting right now what's happening with our black and brown communities, not just in Florida, but nationwide, with a certain group of people that are deciding to racially profile people?
Um, yeah, it's crazy because it's been going on forever, and
Mhm.
now it's
Mhm.
under a microscope and a magnifying glass at the same time. So we're seeing that people getting dragged out of their houses, out of their cars, being shot and killed, the whole nine. And I was just in Chicago, and I just received my whistle.
Mhm.
Um, so
Yep.
it's prevalent like it in every neck of the woods. And to see what's happening here in our community, specifically where I work at, there's a little neighborhood that is Guatemalan predominantly, and
Mhm. Mhm.
last February there's nothing but helicopters and SUVs
Mm.
and sirens and people scared running for their lives, and the next thing you know, I see uh, children without parents. I see
Mm.
you know, small businesses that are just decimated, like the whole community is torn. And then I see store owners that are just fearful to say something because they see that the police have so much influence in our neck of the woods. I went to
Mhm.
Chicago, like I said, and I see my dad's in a little village, and it's a Mexican neighborhood. It's rich in
Yeah.
heritage, like
Mhm. Mhm.
and then I see the flags out. I see people are giving out whistles. I see concern, I see fear, I see sadness, but I see pride. And there's this overwhelming like sense of you will not come into my neighborhood and do this to my people. Like
Mhm.
the business owner, the
Mhm.
business owners will lock the doors and say they can't come in. But again, not all of them can do that.
Mhm. Sure. So what's happening to these kids down in your neck of the woods whenever their parents go missing?
Either they get passed around to other people in the community. They're not
Mhm.
going to school. My daughter was like,
Mm.
last year, before school ended, my daughter was like, my friend isn't coming to school anymore. She has to go back home.
Mm.
Hopefully her dad is there because we don't know if he's
Mhm.
actually there or not. Um, so it's terrible. It's heartbreaking. Yeah.
Well, and
Yeah.
you and I have a lot of things in common, but one of the things that we have in common is autism.
Mhm.
So let's talk a little bit about that because I know right now we've got the issues with RFK Jr., we've got the Interagency Coordinating Committee, the IACC, that is going to be now extending public comment for the Autism Cares Act. How does that affect your community down there and your family?
Well, my family in particular, my son is he'll be 18. He was a late
Mhm.
diagnosis, so which is difficult
Mhm.
in itself because he aged out on a lot of programs. So
Mhm.
not having those programs available and having Republican leadership out here, not really acknowledging mental health and um,
Yeah.
a level one, I guess, would be where he falls into category. So he doesn't really fit
Mhm.
the
Mhm.
criteria of being someone that is disabled, quote unquote. So
Mhm.
it's really difficult on us. It's really difficult on I see it in families all over the place because I know how it is since our daughter's younger. Her friends, we can kind of see some tendencies and traits. So we try to
Mhm.
help out as much as we can, but there's the stigma of, oh, my child isn't on the spectrum. They're afraid of labels, they're embarrassed, and it's that in itself is sad because you don't really get the opportunity to actually see your child flourish. You're kind of hindering them or labeling them, and that's really frustrating in itself. And then you see jokers like RFK, um, like I don't know, he sniffing cocaine off the toilet, but then he's gonna tell me that um, all these things that he thinks that are triggering autism, and then I don't know, like he came in and said, the food is contaminated and all this and all that, and then he does nothing about any of it, and then he just follows suit, and then he's like, trapping snakes in his pool and doesn't give a shit. Like it's all a joke. It's smoke and mirrors, and it's hurting a lot of families, and again, tying in with immigration, it's the future of our country. Like you're really handicapping the future of our country, which is exactly where they want us to
Mhm.
be.
Right. So you'd say right now in your area, people are basically just terrified, so they're pulling their kids from school, they're not having access to the programs that they had access to, they're not accessing the healthcare that they need.
Mhm.
So, gee, I
Yeah.
mean, man, this is a shit show. Like, this is not just a shit show for the parents, this is a shit show for the kids. Like, I know I've got younger kids. Um,
Mhm.
I basically had to leave the workforce. I have friends of mine that are, they're paid caregivers because they have children on the spectrum that are high needs. I
Mhm.
have my older child right now who's 6.5, starting to have behavioral issues. We've been experimenting with medications to try and find one that works.
Mhm.
I mean, how much of that type of thing are you seeing down there too?
I see it a lot. I saw, like, as a matter of fact, there's a girl that is on one of my accounts. I work for a beverage distributor, so I know
Mhm,
she's
mhm,
like, "Oh, my daughter's X, Y, and Z. She's like having behavior issues." I'm like, "I understand. Have you ever
mhm,
got her diagnosed?" And she's like, "No, not really." And then she had to take a leave of absence, and her employer did not understand what she is going through. Like, "Oh,
mhm,
she's just acting out, she's doing this and that, she'll grow out of it." Yeah, and that's what I've been hearing for years, like, "Oh, he'll grow out of it." There are these tantrums, or you see it in grocery stores and walking down the aisle, and
mhm,
parents, strangers are giving looks to parents that are trying to be understanding and kinda recognizing situations of meltdowns and overstimulation and things like that, whereas people who don't have an idea of what they're going through can just instantly say, "They need to be punished. Let's just smack their ass and just ground them and take all their shit away," like,
mhm,
it hurts knowing that, again, that parents get embarrassed, and because they don't wanna go out with their friends. They don't wanna take their
mhm,
children out to the functions, and they're really missing
mhm,
out, and on the child's development emotionally, intellectually, relating with other kids, and, um, it and I don't know, it's sad, and things have to change. That's why we have to
mhm.
elect people that are gonna make a difference and understand what
Right.
mental health is really all about.
Mhm. So maybe you can walk us through what your family's life was like, right? Because, like I said, my kids are small right now, and this might give some good insight and some good perspective on things that you did with your child that were helpful, that were not helpful, just like any tips and tricks that you learned along the way to help people.
Yeah, you really gotta figure out, like, we had to figure out what our son really liked to do. What got him in his zone,
Hmm.
right? And then really realize how to take him out of his
Hmm.
zone when time's up. Another thing that was really helpful was getting him into wrestling. His high school
Hmm.
wrestling, coaches are phenomenal. They really understand that,
Hmm.
well, actually, I take that back. They learned from Michael, my son, on how
Hmm.
to, deal with certain situations, and really, they grew as coaches, which was really inspiring, and in turn, it helped my son, like, really. deal with adversity. It helped him deal with loss, how to overcome obstacles, fear, being in situations. I've seen him almost get choked out, but he come
Mhm.
back to life and he get back up there and he go out there and he almost made states last year. This is his senior year.
Mhm.
Um, but there's hurdles and still pitfalls. Like there's emotional roller coasters. There's anxiety. There's depression. There's all kinds of things that not only he goes through, but we'll go through because we want to help as much as we can. But you know, we also have to give him space and leverage because he is almost an adult and he has to make
Mhm.
mistakes himself. So it's like finding out how far the guardrails should be and really, like,
Mhm.
let him fly, but kind of understand that there are consequences to things that are going on. Um, I guess the other big thing is, I guess him taking responsibility for his
Yeah.
actions, 'cause there is that being a teenager where, like, you're a teenager, you're growing up. However, is it because you're not processing it like
Mhm.
I would, or is it because you're being an asshole? Like, there's this is like this balance, because he's smart, he's wicked smart, and it's like, all right, are you trying to play a
Like,
game
"You
on us?
playing me." Yeah.
Yeah, so it's like there's that whole struggle, and yeah, I don't know. It's again, it's unfortunate that we didn't realize it in the beginning,
Mhm.
um, but seeing him now like flourish and like smile and be happy and have friends and um is amazing. And but yet there's still that, like,
Mhm.
uncertainty.
Yeah. Well, that's good at least that he's able to make friends because some of them can't, like some of them struggle
Mhm,
so hard or, maybe the education system just doesn't tolerate
mhm.
the restrictions that they may need to be successful. Does your son have an IEP?
Yeah, he does. And,
Okay.
it's been great, like, the high school that he goes to has been phenomenal as far as trying to structure his curriculum, and there's a, there's a he has a specific teacher that he goes to see,
Mhm.
and he teaches life skills.
Mhm.
He'll take the class out and like, "Alright, we're gonna go get something to eat. You guys are ordering. We're
Mhm.
gonna go out and do this. You guys are gonna be in control." Like, he lets the leash go, and
Mhm.
those are the things that, we as parents have to realize that they can go out and do it on their own because they do it all day at school anyway. So having those programs in place, are so important, and there are not enough of them, unfortunately.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
What does the system I don't know if you've had a chance to look into it yet, but what does the system look like in your area for once he graduates from high school? Like what what beneficial programs do you have in say like vocational schools, the community colleges? Like have you guys put a lot of thought into what's next for him or has he?
Yes and no. Like, he has his dreams, he wants to own his own business, so then we're like,
Okay.
"Okay, well, you gotta go to school for that." Alright, cool.
Mhm.
So, we talk with the guidance counselors. There's certain accommodations that do carry over into college, the community
Mhm.
college, and then there's some that don't. Snap to read and, like, extra time, things like that. We're
Mhm.
still trying to
Mhm.
figure out whether that is actually something that, still viable when he goes into
Mhm.
college.
Mhm.
Um, so there is gonna be that transition, and I know that, um, as far as trade schools and stuff, there isn't, like, a whole lot out here. And that's one of the things that I noticed
Yeah.
in Chicago that, like, you're always able to find a trade. You're always able to get something into a trade. There's a lot of
Mhm.
unions out in Chicago, so, like, you can jump on in with somebody and be an apprentice and trying to learn things along the way, and there's really not a whole lot of that
Mhm.
going on it down here. One of the things that I did like that
Okay.
Chicago was doing that is that, there's a summer program for upcoming seniors that you can go
Mhm.
out and hop on with the I forgot what it was, the department, the city. You can jump on with the
The city?
city, yeah, and be incorporated and have a job. And some of them already, they carry that throughout the whole entire time. After they graduate and
Mhm.
they make great salaries. But there isn't
Mhm.
a whole lot of that going on out here.
Mm. So what are your reservations for the future?
Oh man,
I know that's a
uh,
loaded one,
that is extremely loaded. So right
especially
now,
considering that right now.
like for right now, like so, well, jumping on this campaign with Bernard Taylor has been pretty eye opening.
Yep.
Seeing
Mhm.
how the the um the inner workings are working and playing against this like each other. Like there's a lot of snakes out here.
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
it's you think like you see it on TV, but then you see it on a micro level, and it's like, man, there's so much dirty shit going on. There's so much
Mhm.
cock blocking, and there's so much like gatekeeping, and like it's unreal. And in order to do the
Mhm.
right thing, you're like, well, you got to do this for me. You got to compromise, and like seeing Bernard Taylor from the beginning to right now, unwavering from what he stands on is
Mhm.
inspiring, and like so that gives me hope on my level here.
Mhm.
And talking to people like yourself who have like this undying um courage and strength to see the world get back to where it should be, or where it needs to be, and where it never was, because the world's been fucked up since the beginning. So
Right.
like to see
Yeah.
to see people just kind of stand up and say, you know what, enough is enough. But we need to do that collectively. There's a lot of splintering, there's a lot
Mhm.
of factions, there's a lot of a
Mhm.
lot of like, it's about me, being the king of the hill
Mhm.
or taking
Mhm.
us to the promised land. But in all reality, if it's a we,
Mhm.
then we can actually overthrow anything that is really standing. Shed light on shit, like
Mhm.
really flip tables, really make noise, make positive impacts, make just just make change. What
Mhm.
has it been like for you through this? Like running on a campaign and then like still trying to push through, and
Well, I ran everything myself. And I was the last one to enter the race. And the only reason I entered the race was because I felt that fear and I was looking at what was offered up, especially by the Democratic Party, right? Because,
um,
I was not aware before I got into politics that they handpick people. So before you even get the opportunity to vote for a person, they've already essentially served you up who they want you to vote for.
yep,
And I think some of those things have been really eye opening. I also I was not aware of just how dirty it was, just how much money was being passed around.
mm,
Um, it's it got r I got really clear really fast because I was like, "Obviously, we need to get money out of politics." Like, and right now, I was very clear-minded of what I was walking into because of the level of threat, because of,
mhm,
like, Doge coming in and all these things. I'm also from a very rural area, so I saw firsthand what was happening with, like, solar farms, AI data centers, um, because I'm from a farming community, I was like, obviously they're after the water. Obviously
yeah,
they're going to rural, poor, brown communities. Like I just kept seeing the same things over and over. So they're going to disenfranchise neighborhoods where people can't really advocate for themselves. They're
yep,
buying out these small town, county and city officials. They're sliding in these backdoor deals and they're like doing all of this stuff behind the backs of the people that actually put them into power.
yep,
And to watch, because I come from a Republican family. So then I'm sort of their worst nightmare, really, because I was raised in that. I know how that works.
how it
So
works.
then
Yep,
I can also call out the bullshit, right? Like,
yep,
and I also was one of those kids that was raised in the church, like I'm of that generation that was raised with like the WWJD bracelets. Well, that shit
mhm,
backfired on them because I was like, right. So I know enough to be dangerous, and I know enough to flip it and literally be flipping the tables on you.
Yeah.
Plus, the only thing that I wanted from it was good stuff. So I'm like, I'm not running for myself. I'm running for my kids. I'm running for the next 7 generations. The things that I
Yeah.
want from office, whether I got in there or anyone, right? I'm like, right, I want these kids, my grandkids, other people's grandkids. Like, I want them to be able to drink the water, eat the food, have a good education, be able to like not be homeless, afford things. Like, basic shit. And I'm like, look,
Basic shit.
this is not like, these are not like partisan issues. There's a
No.
baseline. And I think that is what was so disturbing to me because I was like, hold on a minute. Like, so you're telling me that you don't think people deserve to have clean water, decent food, decent access to medical care. Now, we're not even going into all the women's issues, right? Because
Right.
there's a lot. But
Oh man.
but for all of us collectively, that was like, I felt like the bar was low. And I'm like, you Republicans are constantly going below the bar. And so to have these conversations, it was interesting for me, right? Because I'm actively trying to change the minds of people that were left behind, right? Like,
Mm-hmm.
so when NAFTA came in, for example, there used to be a lot of industry in my area, and now there's not.
Right.
And so a lot of these people sort of felt left behind, disenfranchised by the Democratic Party. So, like, this area used to be a big union area.
Mm-hmm.
And then, whenever all the industry went to Mexico, for example, I'm not saying it exclusively went to Mexico, but as an example,
Right. Mm-hmm.
these people were left like, what the hell? Like, what just
Yeah.
happened? And it wasn't necessarily an immediate thing, but even just whenever I think back, my niece and nephew. So I've got a niece that's 14 and a nephew that's 16.
Mm-hmm.
When I was that age, because I'm 43. So when I was their age, there was a strip mall in the town over from us that had all the shops and a movie theater. And so when we were kids, our parents, once we got old enough, they would let us like go to the movies with our friends. We could walk along the mall, go into like Hot Topic and all those other shops that, at that time
Yeah.
seemed cool to us, and like go and buy a
Okay.
t-shirt, go and buy a CD, which like some kids, if kids are listening, they might be like, what the hell's a CD, right?
What's the
But like,
what's Hot Topic?
yeah, like there was a time when like that was exciting because we didn't have cell phones. And so I actually think that it's an advantage for me, the age that I am, to be
Mm-hmm.
straddling in both worlds, because I was that
Yeah.
age that I grew up with like sticks and dirt. And I was just
Mm-hmm.
old enough whenever I was rotating into like cell phones and the internet that I had the balance of both.
Yeah.
And to see these kids now, especially post COVID, right? Like,
Mm.
there's nothing left for them.
No.
And then you're telling these people that have already been disenfranchised that just work harder. Just work harder. Just send your kids to
Bootstraps.
school to do the right thing, right? But what I'm seeing on the ground is my niece and nephew, I don't think they could work hard enough to even be in the position that I was in when I was their age, like preparing for college, right? Even
Right.
if they are willing to take on the student loan debt to go to college and all that thing. Then you have the government coming in and slashing programs now that traditionally a lot of women would have participated in, that we also need. Things
Mm-hmm.
like social services, right? And that's important to people like us because of our kids.
Right.
So now you have all these programs that are no longer marked as professional. I can't count the amount of women that I went to school with that went into nursing and then ended up being an MP. But now it's like, you can be a white male and get it, like you can get the financing to get a preacher's degree. You can go into seminary, and that holds a higher standing than if you say, are a nurse or if you're a
Mm-hmm.
social worker. And I'm like, the math isn't mathin'
Not at all.
because I don't, and coming from a very religious area, right? I'm like, I see what you're doing here because you're telling us what you're going to do, right? Like you want all the women barefoot and pregnant, blah, blah, blah. Right.
Mm-hmm.
Like you flagged it. I get it. But after running for Congress, structurally, I see it. And I'm like, oh, so if you're purposely limiting the funds to where now the poor kids can't even get into the programs that they want to do,
Mm-hmm.
you are now further reducing the literacy level, specifically so that these kids will be uneducated so that you can further manipulate them.
Mm-hmm.
Meanwhile, you've got the manosphere over here cooking that, anyway, that has majorly activated me to a point where now officially I'm no longer a candidate. So I'm like, let's do this because
Now I'm pissed
I'm
off.
like,
Now I'm really
no,
mad.
I'm like, the hell with this because I literally, like, I had a reel that kind of exploded, like went viral for me, as I say.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I am by no means any like serious content creator, but I have had a few reels go viral and I'm seeing a trend here. And I think it's because I'm having the hard conversations because like the first one that went really viral, I had just had a conversation with one of my Mexican American friends in Chicago, by the way.
All
And we're
right.
having a conversation about ICE. And I very much love this woman. I spend a lot of time with her. My kids know her. Like, she's telling me how her and her family are having to have conversations about like what might happen, what if XYZ happens. And I'm like, in the United States of America, my Mexican American friend who was born here
Mm-hmm.
is having to have conversations like it's fucking 1930s Nazi Germany.
Exactly.
And that's my friend. And so, and she's not the only one, right? But
Right.
so for me, coming from Indiana, I know enough to be dangerous, right? Like my family's been here for a long time. I know a lot about the Klan. So I'm making all these connections. And running for Congress, I think really helped me like deepen that understanding from what I saw. And I'm like,
Right.
right. So really, racism is the bedrock of the problems that we have in the US. And then it just expands from there, right? Like whether it's
Mm-hmm.
racism, bigotry, whatever. So it has always been America's problem. So if we can't then expose that and talk about it in a way of actually trying to make progress, not that it's not important, right? But like, if you can't get people to understand what the root of that shit is, we
Yeah.
can't change it. So people can be upset about Palestine, for example, but maybe the older folk that are like, why are you worried about Palestine over there? Because that's over there.
Shit's going on over
But
here.
then they don't see the correlation between, yeah, they don't see the correlation of how all the pieces fit together. And here's where my autism becomes an ally, right? Because I'm good with pattern recognition. And I'm like, I can
Yeah.
lay this puzzle out and I can be like, and that, and that, and that, and this goes with that. And so I think that's why this podcast ended up being a tool because I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
right, I'm doing advocacy. I'm going to bring other people on that are going to be talking about advocacy, and we're going to find a way to have these hard conversations. And then I
Yeah.
just kept pushing. And so my objective is to not just spread awareness, increase advocacy and activism and all of that, but also give people permission, especially people with white faces, to give them permission to have those conversations that they're already having, but they're just scared to be public about it. And I get that it's scary, but it needs to be done because it's like, I do truly believe that the racists and the fascists, we outnumber them. So we truly have to unite, right? So
Yeah.
black, brown, female, feminist, like however you call yourself, we
Mm-hmm.
are all on the same team.
Yeah.
And so therefore we must unite and fight together. And if we do this, we can win. So like I put out a post the other day talking about white men in correlation with pedophilia and rape and correlating that with white men that sit in Congress and the Senate. And I'm like, statistically, right?
Yeah.
If you have 70% of the Senate that is white and male, and then you don't have people really acting on the Epstein files, yet also 57% of the rape culture that's doing it, perpetuating it, all the things, also statistically are white men. I'm like, there's a correlation here. And it was sort of a call out. It was not the first one that I did, but I'm like, right, we are sounding the alarm. We need your help. And
Yeah.
I got some pretty good feedback. There were some men that were like, yeah, well, you feminist. And of course, you have the
Of
extremists. And
course.
of course, I find it interesting because it seems very, very clear to me now that I've been making these posts, the racism, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's like, how dare you? Like, you race traitor, you
Mm-hmm.
fat, ugly, ignorant, blah, 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 because I'm like hitting the red button. And that
Yeah.
makes people super fucking uncomfortable because they're like, oh shit, like we can't be talking about that. Obviously, it's going to bring all the trolls out of the woodwork. But I'm
Mm-hmm.
like, I'm operating at a higher level right now. I'm operating at a higher frequency because I'm doing this for the kids. So fuck you ultimately. We're going to have this conversation. We're going to rip that fucking band-aid off and we're going to do this now because we don't have any time to wait.
Yeah.
So that's
Exactly.
basically what I've been up to.
It's crazy because like you said, like after World War II, like all the racism like hid under the ground, right? And then they just started networking with each other under the surface, and
Mm-hmm.
then it was like a net, right? So now Project 2020 comes in, and then uh Trump comes in office and all of his little minions and Stephen Miller's little bitch ass, and
Mm-hmm.
then all of
Mm-hmm.
a sudden, the net comes up, and then it captures everybody, and they're like, what? How did this happen? Like it was here, it never left. It was just hiding dormant, and now
Mm-hmm.
now they
Mm-hmm.
have permission slip to do
Yep.
whatever the hell they want, right? So now the gates are open. And what happens now? Then we have dinner
Mm-hmm.
conversations where
Mm-hmm.
we're compromising our children's innocence because we have to let them know that mommy and daddy might
Mm-hmm.
not be here tomorrow because we might get locked up, we might get shot because of the way we look.
Picked up.
And that and this is fucked up. Like and like we've seen it. Like I'm 46, so I also understand. Like I talk about this with Carlos all the time. Like we are the
Mm-hmm.
hub, right, between what
Yep.
happened before us and what's happening now
Mm-hmm.
and what will happen after us. We know what a rotary phone
Mm-hmm.
is. We know what Wi-Fi is. We know what you
Yep.
know. Not having a black and white TV without an antenna or tinfoil or
Mm-hmm.
whatever, and then
Mm-hmm.
we know
Mm-hmm.
what HD looks like. Like, so we know all of these dynamics and understand these things, and we have to be the ones that say, "Hey, listen, we've seen this before. Uh,
Yep.
we were around when this was happening. We may not remember it, but now that we have the internet, we know what the fuck happened. We
Mm-hmm.
have to see it before they hide it all and they erase it all, because that's what they're doing. They're getting rid of all the shit that actually
Mm-hmm.
tells on them. So we have people in
Mm-hmm.
power that say, you know what, hey, it's okay to do all the dirty shit out in the open, and because you're not going to get caught because of the way you look,
Mm-hmm.
because of the money you have and the power you possess. That's where this shit is
Mm-hmm.
like
Mm-hmm.
it happens. This is where it gets so frustrating. When is it going to be like we're all going to say fuck it? Because it
Mm-hmm.
it's gonna. And then on the flip side, we're playing into what they want because they want us to say fuck it, and then they
Mm-hmm.
want to do martial law, and
Yes.
then they want us to
Yep.
lock us all down. So like they're
Mm-hmm.
as stupid as we think he is, and his people are doing all this dumb shit. They are like they're playing in a
Mm-hmm.
different realm, and we don't. And because we're good
Oh
people,
yeah.
we don't understand how that works. Or we see it on TV
Mm-hmm.
and we're like, we know this movie. I've seen this movie before. They played it over and over again, but now we're living the movie
Mm-hmm.
and we got to
Mm-hmm.
change it. Now the heroes have to come out. Now the redemption stories have to be told, and now we have to
Mm-hmm.
all fuck just like I said in unison, come out of the woodwork.
Mm-hmm.
Whether you're black, whether you're brown, whether you're a woman, whether you're a child, whether you're an old white man, you need to come
Mm-hmm.
out and you need to say this
Mm-hmm.
is fucking wrong and let's change it.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Well, I think specifically, right? You're on to something. Gen X and the older millennials in particular. Because, see, like you said, you're 46, I'm 43. There's a hot spot in there
Mhm.
that I think we are those of us that are active right now, like we are very well aware of what this is. We're sort of walking encyclopedias because
Mhm.
we have all that knowledge. And we are very well aware of what will happen if we don't educate enough people. So,
Mm.
my thought is we have no other option but to accelerate and put boot to ass
Yep.
and not be afraid, right? Like, try and encourage that in other people. Like I always tell people, courage is contagious. And at the end of
Mhm.
the day, we know better, right? Like, we know better. Maybe, like, for me as a woman, right? I've got a niece that's 14 and I've got a daughter that's 4 getting ready to be 5. And, I was a survivor of domestic violence, sexual assault. I think especially like a certain age, it's sort of normal. And
Mhm.
we lived through that. We didn't talk as much about it, but now that we heard the Epstein survivors come
Yeah.
out and all that, like, it activated something in us. And
Mhm.
all of the horrible things that we saw, we didn't even scratch the surface of, but
Yeah.
we recognize it for what it is. And it's like, whether it's the blue butterfly zones and dilly or whatever, like, we can see this trend, this demographic that happens to be white men. Not saying that, there can't ever be a black man, Hispanic man, or whatever that does these things. Not ever saying that, oh, hey, like, it can't ever be an immigrant, but saying statistically, it happens to predominantly be white men. So,
Mm.
Mike, thoughts?
My thoughts on the Epstein files. I think, well, it's like everything else. Where do you begin? Like
Right.
you first have to begin telling the truth,
Uh-huh.
and that results in peeling back every layer that is tied to it, and realizing that everybody that is in power is connected all over
Uh-huh.
the world. And there's a lot of dirty laundry. There's a lot of scars and pain that is involved. And we talked about domestic violence and being victims, and the time for victims to set that aside a little bit, not disregard it, but set it aside. The reliving it and really just tell it to expose it, because the amount of corruption and that is tied to it ties into everything else that's at play right now. You got between the government, between cinema, music, between you know every agency known to man, every military, everything is all tied to this specific like piece of shit, right?
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
there's so much that every time somebody mentions it, I'm realizing how more and more deep it is, right? When you got
Mhm.
people like the Tate brothers that get they're getting picked up because the UK decides that you guys are fucking scumbags, but then you get
Mhm.
pardoned by a bigger scumbag, right? And
Mhm.
then you realize
Mhm.
that we're in the pocket of Israel because there's probably just so many ties, to Mossad, and like you're like,
Mhm.
where does it end? Where does it start? Why is it all encompassing? And why is it tangled in everything?
Mhm.
And it just leaves you like this sick feeling of like, I can't believe exists. I can't believe children are being hurt, damaged, broken, like stripped away of like their future because they believe that they want to play a game. People's lives are
Mhm.
games and they're disposable. And like having kids, knowing that we're in places where we're playing in places like politics and the music industry, and we're dealing with people that are could be tied to it, and we have no idea. It's like
Mhm.
this hidden mask, um, eyes wide shut. It's like
Mhm.
it's disgusting, and
Mhm.
it enrages me more than a lot of the shit that's going on, which is
Mhm.
which is everything.
Well,
You
you
know.
see now, right? My point in trying to activate these men and specifically white men, right? Because they tend to be the ones that are doing it. So, like, that's
Mhm,
part of my agenda because I'm like, right, if I can teach people a little bit more about history and if I can help them
mhm,
connect the dots to because let's face it, there's a reason why they don't really teach us about slavery, not enough in the US,
mhm,
because it exposes too much of it. Because when you really, on your own as adults, because that's how it goes, when you start to deconstruct and learn about these things, you're like, oh my God, like how in the hell did all that stuff go on? Right. And so you
yep,
start to connect the dots and you're like, right. So from the jump, these white guys were raping these black women, girls,
mhm,
men, like, and then you piece it together with like the police and the slave catchers and ICE and MAST and the Klan and the Proud Boys and Patriot Front, all of the things. The through line is straight white men, or at least straight white presenting men. And so
yep,
it's like, it's not good enough that we get all the brown people and all the women together to combat it. We have to go to the root of the problem, which are the white men, and convince them, hey, dude, this is not a good look. And I get it with the boys club thing. I get it. I get it. Locker room talk, boys club. Like you're taught from the beginning, like bros before hoes and all that stuff, right? Like don't
right,
ever like betray your brothers. But it's like you can't see it like that, and you can't teach the young men that way. Part of which I think is very interesting why Turning Point USA is doing what it's doing, right? Because that's what they did also with like the Hitler Youth in Germany. You have to get to the kids to indoctrinate the kids so that you have multiple generations of this is okay. So, in order for us to truly be effective, we need to be also combating that with the kids, but we specifically need men, good men, and also white men, the burly ones, the lumberjacks, all that stuff, the cops, whatever. We need them to now start to say, hey, man, that's fucked up. Like in their circles, whenever
yeah,
someone starts rattling off about something that is like totally inappropriate, we've all been in those rooms, in those circles where jokes are made or whatever, that
mhm,
it just makes the hair stand up on the back of our neck, makes our stomach turn or whatever. Like every single time now that any of us hear that shit, we have to stop it and we have to call it out and we have to
yeah,
teach the younger generations how to do that and be like, actually, this isn't cool. Like, actually, you don't need porn because that doesn't show you how to treat women. Like,
right,
you don't like subjugate women. Actually, no, that's not what Jesus said. Like,
mhm,
these are not Jesus's words on how to treat females. So there's so much work that needs to be done, but it starts with good people stepping
yes,
forward and saying like exposing it, saying the things. It's not good enough that we say it in private or say it around our kitchen tables or whatever. Like we need like 1,000 podcasts saying the same
yeah,
shit of like, hey,
yeah,
this is bad, this is how we change it, we have to do better.
because they have a machine. They have a machine like that trains. They have a machine that they have these talking points. They have very well very calculated they're very precise on how they are going about their
Mhm.
business. This is how it
Mhm.
is. This is what we don't say. This is how we say this, and this is how we get around this, and this is how we get paid. This is how we get our
Mhm.
power, and this is how we continue to live off the American dream, as they want to call it. Right? That's how they call it.
Mhm.
But
Mhm.
while we all suffer, and we
Mhm.
if we're not getting back to morals, and we're not bringing people back to the center point on the common ground of like what is right and wrong. Well, we all want to do good things in this world. We want to lead the world off as better than when we found it, and we want the
Mhm.
future
Mhm.
to be successful, right? Not
Mhm.
barefoot and pregnant and enslaved all over again, and
Mhm.
just poor, unhealthy. And then in the meantime, we're going to get rid of all the people that don't look like us. Man, I just want to say something. I want to say that there is good people in this world, and there's not enough of them that are speaking out. And I really hope that enough people can gather the courage through what we do on social media and our platforms and out sowing seeds in the daily life in the community, that we gather enough people with us. Because ultimately, like if we're all believers, right, we all want to sow the seeds and get everyone as many people as we can into the kingdom of heaven, right? But if we
Mhm.
can't, but if heaven and hell are here right now, then we really need to create more heaven on earth. So if we
Mhm.
can't do that, then we won't be able to do that if we don't get enough people to say, "Hey, it's hell on earth right now, and it's getting hot,
Mhm.
right? So we really need to do something about it. And if you're not pissed off right now, what's it going to take for you to be to that point where you're going to actually do something about it? So get activated, be motivated, be encouraged that your future and your children's future and your 7 generations from now really depend on what's going on right now. We're
Mhm.
in such a crucial time right now that we're so engulfed and entrenched in this bullshit that we don't even realize that the humanity hinges upon us, right?
Mhm.
We are that superhero with a great responsibility that we have to do good deeds, and we have to step up to the plate and do some shit about it. Like this like I took my kids to a protest last year. My first protest was their first protest, and I
Mhm.
wanted them to see what it is like to be around people that are motivated and encouraged to see their future in a brighter light, right?
Mhm.
and
Mhm.
and like I wanted them to see that there are people like them that aren't afraid, and it's okay to be bold and to be unafraid, and to say, hey, you know what you're teaching me in school isn't actually what's going on, and it isn't actually what happened.
Mhm.
So now we as adults have to be the educators, the comforters, the nurturers, and the people that say fuck you. We are going to make change happen, and that's why I love what you're doing, and I love what Carlos is doing, and Bernard Taylor, and the guys out in Connecticut that we talked to, Andrew Rice
Mhm.
and
Mhm.
Joseph Caputo and Russell Cleveland in Montana, and all these great people, wonderful people that are like that are just frustrated and tired and see what's going on, and the wool isn't going to be pulled over our eyes anymore, and there are no more wolves in the hen house. We're going to clear them out. You know what I'm
Mhm.
saying? We have
Mhm.
to do this. And yeah, that's where I'm at. Besides, I'm out of breath changing locations from left to right.
Well, I also think there's something to be said for all these different types of people to be coming together from all walks of life, all over the country, right? Like,
Mm-hmm.
we are literally showing people in real time what America's about, like what Americans look like, even, right? And so
Mm-hmm.
this is why, because people, when they see me, they see a white face.
Mm-hmm.
And so I can walk into certain rooms and I can have certain conversations. And so I feel like it is my responsibility to do that and to push the bar, like push it as far as I
Mm-hmm.
possibly can. You can have conversations with people in a way that you are like piquing their curiosity and their critical thinking. And if you're always tossing the ball back in their court, right? Like not necessarily making them a villain, right? But make them
Mm-hmm.
the hero of their own story. So it's like,
Ah,
right,
yeah.
when you're sitting in church, when you're sitting in that pew, if the preacher, for example, because that's a person that's like a position of authority,
Mm-hmm.
traditionally in the US, especially in areas where I'm from, there's like a church on every corner. And you're sort of told or taught, you don't question that, right? Like they're like the
Right.
supreme authority. They're like the hand of God, sort of. I know, especially for the Catholics, that's like very much the case. Um, but you have to push back. And so I
Yeah.
think I'm constantly reaching back into like that biblical teaching that I have and trying to empower people and be like, right, but what would Jesus do? Like,
Yeah.
would Jesus sit in that pew whenever that preacher's, spit and hate racism, sexism, or whatever? Would he sit? Or would he be flipping that pew? Would he be flipping those
Yeah.
tables? And if you can't say that Jesus would sit next to you and listen to that conversation, like if Jesus would not agree and sit alongside you, then you need to question the words of that person, whether it is the preacher, the deacon, maybe like one of the mothers of the church, grandmothers of the church, hell, your own parents. I'm often in that position, right? Like my parents have to be just like beside themselves right now because I'm sure they're scared for me. They don't agree with me. They push back, but I have my own children, right? And like ultimately, that's my obligation. Like I can teach and advocate and educate as much as I possibly can. But ultimately, I'm not here to hold your hand, right? Like for all the grown-ups in the room, we can do everything that we can, but we also need to realize when we need to step back and be like, okay, I've talked as much as I can. Clearly, this isn't getting anywhere with you. I'm over here when you need me. When you're ready to have that conversation, just leave the door cracked, right? Like leave the door cracked. Let them come to you, especially with conversations. I find this happens a lot too. Right now, it might be really easy for people to say, oh, that's those people over there. Like I'm detached from that. That's not happening in my community. That won't happen in my community because we're good people and we don't do that here.
Right.
So I think it's really easy for them to become detached, especially in their faith, and be like, well, if that happened here, I'd do the right thing. But meanwhile, what you're seeing with your own eyes in 4K, whether it's happening in Chicago, Minneapolis, Palestine, Congo, whatever, you know that's wrong. And so, like, your silence is complicity, right? Like, how can you Sunday after Sunday sit in that pew and not activate and not say, hey, I hear you and I respect you and I understand that you're the authority, but I'm going to push back on you because I think I need to.
That's what good preachers should do, right? Like
Yeah.
you should be like, you should be able to go to him and say, hey, why are you believing in this? Question what's going on. If you can't question, then in all honesty, you may have to find another church, right? Because if they don't have those, if you're not able to have an open conversation with your preacher or person of leadership, then you should really consider, where you're attending church. Like I was able to, my pastor's my neighbor, right? So when I came along into the church, he brought my family on, and he's giving me olive branches, right? So I started off doing all the technical stuff, and then he's like, "Ah, I need you to can you moderate for me? Hey, you know what? That was pretty good. Can you deliver Sunday school? Can you do Bible study for me? Yeah, okay, cool." And then next thing you know, I was able to deliver the word. So the first word that I delivered was about Jesus and immigration, and how it was like the Good Samaritan, things like that. And I brought it to a place where people could relate to it and not be so detached from it because it's such a real place. Like I was up there and I was just saying, like, I don't understand if you're supposed to gather everybody. You're supposed to break bread with everybody, and they say even the crumbs that fall off the table are should fulfill you with so much faith that it should be the thing, right? So, and I what I did was as I'm delivering the word, I pull out immigration rights cards because I was handing them out as soon as ICE hit my area. And I'm like, do you guys really understand that under these circumstances, we wouldn't be able to see Jesus because Jesus would be on a plane, or he'd be in Seacot, or he'd be somewhere off and without a moment's notice,
Yep.
or they would kill him just like they did on the cross. So we have to really realize and analyze, like take our faith and say, is what we're actually believing in what Jesus decided that this is the word, or is it what man decided and tainted and remolded and reshaped and rewrote and and decided that, hey, this is in our best interest, because in Christianity women have no power. They don't really exist in the Bible. Like they're all like they're all like out of the books. They're all
because they
hidden.
wrote all those books out.
Exactly. And this is what they're doing now in our history. All the great advancements of black and brown people in the community and women and all of these people that are minorities who are making up now the majority, they don't want to hear these voices and they don't want us to see these stories in real time. Right? Like, and we brought one of our friends there because she goes to a church that is kind of like, it is like a MAGA church. It is like a cult church, and like you get sucked in. They don't say, "Hey, we're a MAGA cult. We're a MAGA church." They just kind of they spoon feed it to you until you're engulfed in it, and then you don't realize it, and then you believe in the culture, and the next thing you know, hey, that's my guy. And then so there's a strained relationship there. But those are the relationships that if they're important enough, you will hear both sides. Right. And I understand what they're trying to say, but you have to really understand what I'm trying to say, because I know you're trying to noise cancel me out. And it's a heavy dose, and it's a dose that a lot of people do not want to take. Like they're very uncomfortable with understanding how disconnected they are from where their faith should start and where their morals are beginning and where they're at right now, because that center point is so far away from where they're at right now.
I find I'm most successful with people whenever I'm constantly putting the ball back in their court and I'm asking them to question things. I'll straight up tell people, I'm like, question everything. Just like you said, right? Like, if you can't ask your preacher a question, if it would seem that your silence is valued more than your thoughts, if you can't see yourself in someone else's shoes, if you can't see your child's face in some other child's face, if you believe that violence is the answer, if you don't understand that violence begets violence, like, and then you can go into the scripture and like the basic ones that everybody knows, right? Like eye for an eye and all of that stuff. But just pique that curiosity just enough. But I find it's always more successful when you bounce that ball back in their court and you're just like, it takes a raging racist if you tell them, hey, your kid's 4 years old. Can you imagine your child being in an ICE detention camp? Like, you can kind of see they like tense up, like, oh,
yeah,
it's instinctual, right? Because that's what happens when you have to step into someone else's shoes, when you peel back that onion of like, oh shit. And you don't necessarily have to go at them like, you're a hypocrite, you're not a real Christian. Like they say here, there are many ways to skin a cat. And I'm excellent at that because I feel like I've had to have these conversations and these arguments so much, predominantly with my own family, to where I'm like sort of skilled at it. I'm not saying I'm the best, but I'm just saying, find those people among you that were raised in those type of situations that maybe have started to deconstruct or at least get curious. Have conversations with them, make them allies, and then send them back into their communities. Like, we need to find the white people that are on like the verge of critical thinking, that are like piquing their interest. And then you send them back into Mississippi, Alabama, whatever, and be like,
yeah,
isn't it interesting how XYZ? It's like, I'm not saying we don't have racists in the North. Absolutely the case. But I also don't think we will be successful long term at actually stopping this if we can't get people to come to their own conclusion, right? Like we have to
Yeah.
convince them that things like Turning Point USA is not benefiting society. Like what are you getting out of it? Like what's the longevity of it? Like what are the things that they believe in that are benefiting you, that are adding to your life? I don't know. I feel like we're on the right track with a lot of this stuff. I see a lot of content creators, especially that have like some religious background, but I'm like, that's
Mm-hmm.
it. And I
Yeah.
try and like all their stuff and forward their stuff. Like before I really knew what I was doing, which I'm not saying I know what I'm doing now, but early on, I
Right.
was a big fan of Monty Mater because I was like, oh yeah, like I could very much step into those shoes and be like, I know exactly where you're going with
Mm-hmm.
this. And I thought
Yeah.
it would be extremely useful then, like to use that message and transmit it. So when I was having conversations with people like where I'm from, I'm like, listen, like, don't get hung up on the hair color or the nose ring or whatever. Like, listen, like if the, for whatever reason, if like the way she's dressed or her hair color, like if it's bothering you, just listen. Put the
Mm-hmm.
screen down and just listen to what she's saying because she actually knows what she's talking about.
Yes. Yeah.
And I got a few older people to do that because initially, right? Because, you know, everybody's judgy and they're like,
Yep.
oh, like this person with the hair or the piercings or the tattoos or they're gay or too brown
Yeah.
or whatever. But if you can just get them to listen to the audio, like that's where some of the podcasts that are audio only,
Mm-hmm.
or if you can talk them into just listening to an audio version of a podcast that is like really impactful,
Yeah.
and then they happen to see the video, you can
Like,
see the
oh,
shock
damn
on,
it.
you
They're
know,
like,
and
damn
like
it.
you see that all over the place. Like it doesn't matter whether it's like a black preacher, Monty Made, or someone else, right? But like
Mm-hmm.
you can literally see the change in them. Like you can see the critical thinking spark because they're like, oh shit, like I actually heard what he or she was saying. I can apply that to my life. And now it doesn't matter what they look like because now I got the
Yeah.
message.
Yeah. It, it's so important to be colorblind
Mm,
and just not really. And you know what? You're right. It is all over the place. It's in Chicago. There's like
mhm.
a neighborhood I was in. I kind of grew up in. There was a big I don't know if they were trying to think. It was like European. I can't remember
Yeah,
exactly
yeah,
what.
yeah. Like Polish or
Right?
something.
Yeah, it was just like an old neighborhood
Mhm,
that turned into a Spanish neighborhood, but there were still
mhm,
the old ladies there, and that they were
mhm,
still like
mhm.
you could tell they're super racist.
Yeah.
But you know, I'd be the guy over there that would cut the grass or
Mhm,
help her up the stairs or like as a matter of fact today on the way to this, I couldn't find a parking spot, so I had to park like way far from where the place was
mhm,
at that I was going to
mhm,
record.
mhm,
A lady had her hood up, and I'm like, "You okay?" She's like, "Mom, my batteries. I'm waiting for AAA, whatever." And I wear my Mexico hat. She's a white lady,
mm,
so you know there may be some. I'm like,
mhm.
"You want me to jump your car?" And she's like, "Yeah." So she
Mhm.
was open. She was open to it
Yeah.
because she knows she needed help,
Yeah.
and I was open to the fact that even though I have a timeline, I want to help somebody,
Mhm.
right? So then I jumped her car, and it's running. I said, "Hey, by the way, I have this flyer for Bernard Taylor. He's running for Congress."
Mhm.
Oh, really? You know, again, you find the common ground, you plant the seed,
Mhm.
right? So
Mhm.
she's gonna take that. She's like, "Oh, my daughters have, they're really into it." I'm like, "Okay, cool."
Mhm.
I I,
Mhm.
I we put the hood down. Went off on her way, and I know she's
Yep.
gonna think about it. She's gonna think
Mhm.
about it, whether
Yeah.
she
Yeah.
whether she thinks that whether she's a racist or not. She's gonna
Yep.
know that someone is attached to it
Mhm.
is a
Mhm.
good person, right? He did a
Mhm.
good thing for me. Let me dive into this for a minute. And that's what we should all should be as believers. This is the good Samaritan, right? Like the
Yeah.
the the priest walked past the person that was in need.
Mhm.
And it took someone that was not of their kind to help them out
Mhm.
and bring them
Mhm.
back to
Mhm.
life. So like this is all we're supposed to do. We're all supposed to
Yeah.
help people that don't look like us to get to where we all want to be. Like
Mhm.
and this, like, if we could do that, if we just shut the fuck up for a minute
Mhm.
and pay attention and respect people's opinions for a moment and say,
Mhm.
these are valid. Let me do some research. Oh, these are biblically sound, or these are structurally sound. These do make sense. This would better the environment. This would help our kids. This would help our health. Like, okay, we're not so fascist and communist after all.
Mm-hmm. Well, I'm telling you, this is why it's so important to get working people in those positions, right? Because not just because you're putting a bunch of people together that have a lot of expertise, right? Like it is beneficial to the American public to have firemen and, teachers and nurses and all the things. That is
Mhm.
beneficial to us. But to have people that are from a working class background that are running for office that will do those things, right? That will
Mhm.
pull over on the side of the road, that will jump someone's car, that, I don't know, like let's say some old person needs wood chop because they've only got a wood stove. All of those little things, that's what sticks with people. Like
Mhm.
they can't they can't meet every politician, right? And I'm not saying that every politician can meet every single person, but those stories are the ones that spread. They'd be like, "Oh, that guy? I didn't even know who he was and he like helped jump my car." Like
Yeah.
that stuff does spread like wildfire, and I definitely think we need more of that, and that I think that's actually how Americans are. Like at least the working class ones, which is the
Mhm.
majority of us, right? Like this is why it's so important to unify and to get out in the streets and mutual aid, protesting, educating people. Like, you know, I've seen people do like these car libraries out of their trunk,
Oh
which
shit.
is
Okay.
cool. Like, I've
Yeah.
got an idea to do that for my community. I'm full of ideas and not full of a lot of time. But the more and more that we encourage that type of behavior, right? And get
Mhm.
that sunk into these kids of like, actually, you shouldn't care about the money. You should care about the mutual aid because how you make someone feel, how you help them, like that actually benefits you. That makes you feel
Mhm.
good about yourself that you helped that lady carry her groceries up the stairs or that like you watched that lady's kid for 2 seconds so she could get her other kid out of the cart or what. All of those
Like,
things, that's what sticks with people.
Yeah. So it's you're creating a core memory for somebody,
Mhm.
right?
Mhm.
And that's what we tend to realize that we don't do often enough. Like we're so busy with life, like especially with our kids. We have this memory bank of so many things on our mind and on our plate and in our lifespan. And we don't
Mhm.
realize
Mhm.
that our children don't have that bank built up yet. So
Right.
every moment is a core memory, right? So when we
Yeah.
say when we blow them off and say, "Well, I don't got time," or "I'm tired," you know,
Mhm.
we're going about our day, and they're losing a core memory of their life, and that'll
Yeah.
stick with them for the rest of their life. But if you see, like, if someone sees me jump a car,
Mhm.
right, and they're like, he didn't even know that person. Or
Mhm.
if they come across somebody doing a good deed, and that's where the
Mhm.
internet is pretty good too. Like you see people
Mhm.
doing good deeds all the time. So
Mhm.
when people see that generosity, the compassion, the empathy, the understanding that people aren't as well off as you are, even though you're struggling, or
Mhm.
and you don't have to be a millionaire, you don't have to do that. You could be filled with compassion and love, and then you can actually get things done. You
Yeah.
can actually it's contagious. I was a bellman too. I was the first and
Mhm.
last impression of the
Mhm.
hotel. So you greet
Mhm.
somebody with a smile.
Yeah.
You leave saying, "Hi, have a great day." Like
Mhm.
those things aren't you don't see those things when you
Yeah.
when you start a computer.
That's right.
You don't get that you don't get um, those less life lessons taught at school.
Mhm.
And that's where on all levels we can do better.
Right. Well, hey, I think we've covered a lot of topics today. Was there anything we didn't cover that you want to talk about?
um Not really, man. I want to thank you for this because I don't get a whole lot of opportunities to be on this side of the
Mm.
podcast.
Mhm.
Um, and and going into it, I didn't really think I had a whole lot to say.
Mm.
And honestly, when I go about my day and people ask me what I do, and I start doing checking off this laundry list of things that I do besides work, be a father, be a part-time
Mhm.
pastor, be
Mhm.
a be a campaign manager, be a and then it's like, oh shit, I do a lot. So
Mhm.
often we have a lot on our mind but not a lot to say.
Mhm.
So I think we have to start giving ourselves a little more be appreciate ourselves a little bit more, and that helps our mental health also, you know what I'm saying? So again, I want to thank you for this because like I said, I don't get a lot of time to just say what is on, like what I have to say.
Mm-hmm.
Because I'm really interested in what other people have to say and talk shit with other people, you know?
Well, I think it's important for people to, like, people that are doing stuff like this, right? It's important for them to see that we're human, that we're normal, and we're just like all of them. Because how can we encourage people to do the type of things that we're doing if they don't see the humanity in it, right? Like there can't be this detachment of like, oh, here's this person that's like this big thing. I it it just gets people to kind of detach, I think. Anyway, this is why I love having conversations like this, because I like the origin story. It tells you a lot about a person and how they came to do the things that they're doing.
Yeah. It's important to, like, you on the polar opposite, you see Trump and you latch on to Trump because you think there's something that you're missing in life. Like, oh man, I want that. I want power. I want money. I want the fame. You know, like you start attaching to a persona rather than the the root of a person.
Yeah.
And the closer we could get to like telling the true stories about people and where they come from and what they're about and why are they fighting the fight if they're fighting, then they become relatable. And
Yep.
then you can start understanding that, hey, that's me.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that is me. That is younger me. That could be older me.
Mm-hmm.
Let's jump on and let's fight the fight with them.
Mm-hmm. Well, I ask everybody this. So I know we talked about a ton of things today. If people only walk away with one thing from this podcast, what do you really want them to walk away with? Like, who's Mike?
So I guess Mike is someone that believes that there's good in everyone. Mike is a person that thinks that um, self comes second to the people that are close, and then that hope and love and joy are contagious. Mike is that guy that will take the opportunity to make someone smile, give someone hope, um, and just have, I guess, just have the understanding that it isn't all gloom and doom. Like you, we are the ducks on the water, and our legs are going crazy, right? But we're gonna find a way to stay afloat, and we're gonna get to where we need to be. But we got to flock together.
I think that's great. Well, it was my pleasure to have you come on today. I would love for you to come back. I'm sure there's going to be many, many other things for us to talk about along the way. And for everybody out there, if you like what you're hearing, please like, subscribe, share it, send it to your friends. If you think you want to come on and have a conversation with me, send me a message. But thank you very much for coming on today, Mike. I very much appreciated it. And we will see you later, everybody.
Thank you. Peace.
We are at a pivotal point in American history. We do not have the luxury to remain silent. Programs are disappearing every day. We hope that this podcast raises awareness and sparks a sense of advocacy in you. We all can make a difference. The important thing is to start. See you next time.